But anyway, leading into the next sort of segment here, because
the only beast that we have the full stats for.
Exactly. We have all of the information for the Proteus, and the question that is raised is the Proteus still garbage? Which
I'm done.
You're not done.
Fuck you.
You're done when I say you're done. So he is very similar in his themes and flavor.
I only partially agree. He's still a tentacle beast, but the thing is, prior to, like in Mark II, Proteus was like, I've got tentacles, crickets.
Well,
kind of. That was his thing.
I mean, the thing is, like, so before he was the only war beast that had the kind of harpoon attack thing.
Sure.
In Legion, anyway.
Sure.
And he was expensive for what you got out of him. He was the only war beast that had 5 fury.
He was expensive, but relative to other Legion beasts, he actually wasn't that expensive. He was 11 points compared to like a Carney at 12 or 13.
Carney was 11.
Oh, okay.
And I think Proteus was maybe he was 11.
He was 11. Proteus was 11. I know that.
But yeah, he's the same as a Carnivian, and like he was the same as a Carnivian, and it was hard to justify taking him because he never really felt like he got there and did what you wanted him to.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, all of your beasts were fast enough that you didn't need someone to walk up and drag someone out.
Yeah. And
he also came out after Colossals did. So he came out with his drag ability after a lot of people had models that you couldn't drag.
Yeah. So a couple of big things that they mentioned with the Proteus, and I'm not sure if this is mentioned on the forums or not, but so Proteus is on a Carnivian chassis, and the Carnivian chassis have been reduced in speed.
Yeah.
So they're now speed 5 as a global rather than a speed 6 sort of deal, which
generally speaking is only a loss of a half an inch of threat because of the minimum of 1 inch reach that the Ravigor and the Carnivian are going to have. But in the case of, and possibly even Typhon, I don't think Typhon had reach before.
No, he didn't.
But in the case of Proteus and Scythian, who already had reach, it is a functional threat loss.
Yeah. Otherwise, he's pretty much the same. Mat 7, Mat 7's higher, actually, Rat 4. I wonder if that Mat 7 is like because he's a character war beast, or if that's like actually just what the chassis get.
But the interesting thing is his Rat is no longer relevant because he doesn't have a ranged attack anymore.
That's true.
So now he has a Mat 7 with his chain striking tentacles.
That's true. Defense 11, armor 18 is standard Carnivian chassis. So I suspect Mat 7 might actually be.
It's probably because it's character, honestly.
Think so?
I'm not saying that's for sure because like I know that the Slayer is Mat 7 and that's definitely not a character jack.
Yeah.
But
that's going to be something I really want to find out. So hopefully we get more information on that sooner rather than later. But now instead of his 3 attacks, so his range attack and his 2 melee attacks, he now has tentacles.
His tentacles always were a melee attack as well.
That's right. And then he's got his 2 talons. So he lost his range attack.
Mm-hmm.
He still has 3 initials, but they no longer have the 4th attack.
Right. But the thing is, you never got to make 4 attacks before.
Though. If you harpoon somebody in, so you'd range attack them, harpoon them in, then you could buy.
But you lose your initials. So now you charge somebody, snag them in with the tentacles, and then you get your other initials, and you still get to buy more attacks.
Yeah. A couple of interesting things, actually. He's gone down to 4 Fury from 5.
Which is pretty reasonable. Like, I don't think there was really any reason for him to be 5 Fury before, other than because
character was really the reason. So his tentacles are still, they're POW 14, and his talons are POW 16. And some people are going to say, well, that's super low. But, talons are in line with the Carnivian.
And we don't know. For all we know, you will have a bunch of, you'll still have strength buffs in the faction.
Interesting thing, though, with all of the changes to the thresholds having gone down in a lot of cases, his threshold's still 9.
Yeah, they mentioned earlier in the article that Legion beasts are typically going to have higher thresholds still.
Oh, interesting.
At least the ones that make more sense to. They evaluate it on a beast by beast basis.
Okay, I see. He's got chain attack.
Yes.
Whereas he had a chain weapon before.
He still has chain weapon.
He still has chain weapon, but he didn't have chain attack before. So now on his turn, his reach is 4 inches.
Yeah, it's chain strike. Just so we don't confuse that with chain attack bloodbath.
Yeah, I get.
Yeah.
Fair. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That increases his threat range by a considerable margin in terms of like being able to actually get those extra attacks out.
Yeah. And I mean, that tentacle attack, you can buy more of them. So you can potentially snag in a few different models on your attack. On your turn.
And one of the biggest things to me on him is that instead of having an animus to grant snacking, he has snacking by default.
Yeah.
So being able to like 4-inch reach out to nowhere and murder whatever the hell happens to be out there just to heal off of is great because...
especially because he picked up unyielding too in the transition.
Unyielding.
Yeah, making him armor 20 when he's engaged.
Oh, that's right, yes.
So like now Proteus seems to have more of a role as like, just shove me in where there's a bunch of dudes, I'm not going to die, and then I'm going to eat them all. Well,
and the thing is like, so the big thing about having that 4-inch reach on his turn to me is that because of his pull mechanic, when he's in base to base with something, it doesn't get to move.
Well, we haven't talked about his animus, but that is his animus.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Well, sorry.
You do have to spend a little bit of fury to use it, or use one of the casters that had like Awakened Spirit.
Well, okay. Well, we'll revisit that first. So yes, his animus is now Crawling Chaos.
I love the name.
It's awesome.
I love the name.
It's cost 2, range of self. Its duration's 1 round. It actually says round now,
yep.
Which is different.
Yeah, they changed it to be like up round turn.
Now, when base to base with the spellcaster, enemy models suffer -2 defense and
cannot advance except to change facing.
Exactly, and it lasts obviously for one round again. So it states 1 round in there, and then it also states in the description of the ability. But so what we end up with is a Proteus who can run up, charge a heavy, pull him in, and then if he happens to be within 4 inches of any other infantry, hit them to heal up from snacking, which in engaged in melee brings him up to armor 20. He's going to be very difficult to remove
without even buffing him with anything else.
Yeah, just all on his own. Now, yeah, he doesn't hit super spectacularly hard, but power 16 is hard enough.
Power 16 is hard enough, absolutely.
And all he has to do is stand there and just soak up hits. How many turns can you get out of a Proteus now?
Well, exactly. And I mean, okay, so this is going to cost you your Proteus in 90% of the games, but you can charge a Colossal if you get in base with it.
That's true.
And just pop the animus. Be like, okay, deal with Proteus before you get to do anything.
Arm 20, he's got an okay chance at surviving.
No.
Maybe.
No. If the Conquest didn't get any weaker, it's like PS 22.
Okay, well, I mean, fair.
And Mountain King's PS 22 after Rage and still has 5 Fury. So,
and I mean, the other big thing about him is his bond with Absalonia. So, I mean, before he did have... he had special issue, but he didn't have any affinity or anything. Yeah, there's no special rules associated with it.
There's an interesting thing that comes with this. There's actually 2 interesting facets that were confirmed on the forums.
Okay.
Affinities no longer exist.
Ooh.
So anything will be through a bond.
Oh, interesting.
In addition, a bond by default gives you sort of the special issue property that you used to have. So you can include a Proteus with Absalonia in any theme list.
Oh, interesting.
Regardless of that theme list's normal ability to hit Proteus.
Okay, so like character restrictions out the window for the purpose of if you have a bond with
Proteus. If you're using your bonded jack. In addition, bonds no longer have the inbuilt 2 threshold. They don't have any rules other than what's on the card.
That's way better because it's way less convoluted and difficult to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a little more text on the card, but that's fine.
Well, I mean, most of the text in this case is like the ability.
Also, the other thing that it grants is grievous wounds.
Yeah,
which works the same.
Yeah, well, no, we don't know that. Well, it actually is worded differently now.
Well, it says a model hit by a weapon with grievous wounds loses tough and cannot have damage removed from it for 1 round.
See? We don't know how that works. Someone was asking about that on the forums, and there may or may not have been an official response since then.
To me, it sounds, and this is just the conjecture and theory, but like it sounds like when you heal something, there's probably something in it that says you remove damage.
Oh, of course.
From that.
But the thing is, like grievous wounds used to prevent transferring damage. So is this a way that does it still do that? Is it a way of them saying that in a different way? Like it's hard to say.
Well, if you can't have damage removed from it for 1 round. You wouldn't. I mean, transferring. You'd be adding damage. You wouldn't be removing damage.
No. You'd be removing damage from whatever's transferring away. So your caster would be removing damage. But again, we don't know exactly how that works. We have to wait for some clarification on that.
Yeah, that's a little ambiguous. And I mean,
but still, giving the ability to remove tough to this guy, especially. Can you read snacking off for me?
Sure. So when this model boxes a living model with a melee attack, it can choose to remove the model from play. When it does, the model can remove this model can remove D3 damage points.
Okay, so I have no idea how the disabled boxed whatever system is going to work in the next edition, but the fact that he has Grievous Wounds immediately sidesteps tough completely, so he can just munch on trolls all day.
Not only that, but this does reinforce the idea that with snacking, you remove D3 damage points. The wording is the same as with Grievous Wounds. Damage couldn't be removed. So Grievous Wounds would counter snacking as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, icon-wise, he's got Eyeless Sight, Pathfinder, and some swirly thing I don't know. Soulless. That's the icon now.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, it didn't have an icon before.
I'm like, it's some swirly vortex thing, which makes sense because he's a Proteus.
People were calling it the Ninja Star icon.
Okay, I can see that.
But it's been confirmed that is a soulless.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense.
Which makes sense because all Legion beasts are soulless.
I haven't actually counted up the damage boxes, but it looks the same as before, at least.
The same-ish.
Cursory glance.
Yeah.
And now he's 19 points, which sounds expensive. However, it's expensive when you compare it to like the Slayer. Yeah,
he's almost twice the cost of a Slayer, but he is less than twice his current cost.
That's right. So it puts him. I have to imagine it puts him into like the elite heavy.
Probably, yeah. You're getting like half a colossal for that, probably.
Well, we saw the Mountain King. He was like 38,
36.
Was it 36?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but like Mountain King might be on the cheaper end of colossals. We don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we don't know much else about them yet. But that's interesting. I think that so rounding out back to the original question of is the Proteus still garbage? Well, we can't answer that necessarily because we don't know what the meta is. We don't know what we're comparing to. But when you compare it to his previous incarnation, to me, it now seems like he has a reason to be in an army.
I agree that he has a purpose.
He now is that kind of brick that you can take to really lock something down and keep it locked down for a long time, assuming it's not a colossal.
I think it is an interesting model. He's definitely more interesting now than he was before.
Yeah. The question as to whether or not he's worth 19 points is going to come down to like what do other things cost?
We're going to have to know what everything costs in the faction.
If a Carnivean's 22, then Proteus is cheap. If Carnivean's 15, well then now it's a question. So it'll be that'll be hard to say, but I like the direction they went with the Proteus. Mm-hmm. I like that they didn't make him super overtuned. Like he doesn't feel like he's gonna hit that hard.
He feels like he's unique is the thing. Like I like the tentacle drag and I like the Animus a lot.
I just hope that I hope that people don't immediately look at like POW 16 and then be like, well, I'm not gonna take him. He's garbage. Because I don't think that's. I think the utility he brings is significant.
POW 16 with disgusting reach, man.
Yeah, well, 4-inch melee reach on your turn is disgusting.
And that's adding reach to the rest of your beasts too, because if you can't kill something, you can just grab 2 heavies and then have other beasts finish them. That's
another thing. It's like the pull reads if a model hits an enemy model with that equal or smaller base with a basic attack with this weapon, immediately after the attack is resolved, the model can be pushed directly towards this model until it contacts a model or an obstacle, model, obstacle, or an obstruction. So that's another thing. Okay, so he's got 4-inch reach on his turn. You can run up, drag in multiple heavies, and be like, what now?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Basic attack. Yeah, it doesn't, and it's not even an initial thing. So
no,
there's no limit
you can grab as many things as you want with the tentacles. It's Purple People Eater. Got 5 tentacle drags.
So I just wonder, at ARM 20, well, here's another thing though, like, you're going to be taking with Absalonia in a lot of cases, probably.
Sure.
Just because of the bond.
Sure.
I wonder if she still has something that gives you like +2 armor? Or like force.
We have all of this like agnostic of any other buffs. Like,
well, exactly. Like
we know that tenacity doesn't exist anymore, but we don't know about spiny growth. We don't know about any other defensive spells that might exist.
Spiny growth, get him up to armor 23.
22. I think it's +2 armor, isn't it?
You might be right.
Either way.
But okay, let's say you get him up to armor 22. What heavies in the current environment that we're aware of can really, like, even if you had 2 of them, can they one-round him? Maybe.
Depends,
But now it's going to be a real question. And if they don't, how much snacking can you do?
Exactly. And people are probably going to play some more lights too. Like you can pull in a couple of Signar Jacks that might not have the best melee attacks.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Like high power solos.
Like I think that 4-inch reach is significant to what he's supposed to do.
You can pull in cavalry and then make them lose their charge.
Oh, and cavalry would have no chance at killing you, probably.
Pretty much.
I mean, unless we get like some ridiculous cav.
Still.
Yeah, so that's it for the Proteus. Just to follow up with one last thing on the insider's information here, it's they mentioned that the Nephilim got a bit of a bump in the new edition, so each of them picking up some additional rule to better represent what they do. For example, Nephilim Protector picked up Guard Dog, and the Soldier gained Precision Strike. So that's pretty sweet, because I feel like the Nephilim needed a little love. They were always cool looking. You always wanted to take them, but you just never did.
It's actually super interesting that a War Beast, something that can hit kind of hard, picked up Precision Strike. Because if the rule stays the same, it just tells you that you can say, like, this is the column I want to damage, right? Oh. Which thematically makes sense, because you want to, like, okay, I'm going to cut this Warjack's arm off. Which makes a lot of sense. But, like, most of the models that have Precision Strike right now are, like, Praetorian Swordsmen, who are like, I can hit for 10, woo!
Yeah, well, exactly. And the Soldier, I mean...
could actually be pretty strong.
He actually had, like, POW 14.
Yeah. Like, he could actually be someone who makes use of that in a cool way.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited for a lot of what Legion's... A lot of the Legion changes. I am going to miss,
Tenacity.
Tenacity is huge for me.
Yeah, it's gone completely.
So it'll be interesting to see what Shredders do now. But
hopefully Shredders can actually be like more offensively powerful. Like, they were already pretty good at biting stuff, but like if they lost Tenacity, they could be like 3-point monsters.
Yeah, well, I still like the idea of the little murder missiles, but
especially if you keep the lesser Warlock that only takes lessers.
The one big change that I'm kind of a little on the thing that I'm gonna feel the most, I think, is the -1 speed on the Carnivian chassis. But then on the other hand, infantry getting better, Nephilim getting better, Proteus looking pretty solid. I think Legion's gonna be in a good place.
I think everyone's gonna be in a good place.
But I also do think that all factions are gonna see nerfs.
Of course.
In this kind of vein. Like, I think they're taking those outliers and bringing them back down. And I think that...
Because, the thing is, this is a great opportunity for them to call power creep.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to nerf every faction. They're also going to buff things in every faction. That's just the way this is going to be. Because there's models that don't get played enough, and there's models that see play all the time. And the models that see play all the time usually do so because they're too good.
Yeah, fair enough. One last thing, actually. Confirmed on Twitter. Headbutt's still in the game. Headbutts
are still in the game, but pushes, headlocks, and weapon locks are gone.
Which is great, because those are just added rules complexity that we didn't really need.
In fact, no one ever uses headlocks and weapon locks to my knowledge. I mean, there's probably some edge case scenarios, but pushes only got used when they were abusive.
Yeah.
Like Bradagus Wold Watchers pushing each other to increase synergy chains.
Yeah, so ridiculous.
So, I mean... slam. Like, you can still slam. Do the cool thing. Don't do the lame thing.
Well, exactly. And I mean, it kind of reinforces the whole page 5 mentality. I hope page 5 is still in the book.
It's going to be. There's no way they can take it out.
So that's interesting. And the only other information that, at least that I'm aware of up to this point, is Tara Sloan in Signar gains Field Marshal True Sight, which is interesting. We don't know anything else about her, but that's like a unique thing she gets to do, I think.
Well, I mean, she might not be the only caster that has that, but she might not be the only caster that has that, but in Signar as a shooty caster, that makes a lot of sense. There are a couple other things that they confirmed, like they confirmed that Purification is going to be mostly on Menoth casters, or completely on Menoth casters now.
That's fantastic.
As part of the upkeep removal being dialed back, like Veil 2 is replacing Purification with Chasten, which is a nuke that causes upkeeps to expire. Okay. So she has to hit something with an offensive spell.
Okay.
She's also trading Obliteration for a weaker spell that leaves a cloud.
Oh, interesting.
So more of the sort of control utility sort of stuff going there, and less of like Veil 2 is better than everything.
Yeah, well, she needed to be dialed back a little bit. I think.
A little bit.
The thing is, like, you'd see in I know a couple of Legion players would basically their tournament lists were like Veil 1, Veil 2. Like, take anybody else? Nah. I mean, occasionally you'd see other casters, and I mean,
Saren's good sometimes,
but not in, like, yes, she is, but like in a tournament capacity.
I don't think she's bad in tournaments. I just don't know. Like, I'm not a professional Legion player in tournaments.
Fair enough. So that'll be that makes sense. It'll be interesting to see what she does. That's like her thing. but I'm pretty excited. Like so far, it seems like the casters, they've really taken an interesting approach to the casters with making them identifiably unique.
Yes, so. I literally am excited for every faction's insider at the very least, and I'm super excited for like the rest of the info to come out. I can't get enough.
Same here. I have to say though, I was a little disappointed today. We got a new insider about pins.
Woo! If you are one of the 2 people in the world who care about collecting pins when Mark III information is available,
May 3rd's exciting.
Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm sorry, I don't mean that personally, but fuck off and let them post real information, not stupid pin bullshit. Not that the pins are stupid or bullshit. I just am really salty because I wanted more spoilers, okay?
Yeah, fair enough. And that's pretty much it for our War Machine coverage, at least for this week. So please, for now, please like, comment, subscribe, and check us out on SoundCloud because I kind of want to push that. I want more people to be, yeah, exactly.
Get it in your head.
Getting us in your head.
Come check out the Connection Games and Comics. We have the largest selection of War Machine and Hordes miniatures in the Lower Mainland. War Machine Wednesdays and Sundays, with tables and terrain to play your game.